Welcome to Roar Like the Lamb. I'm Father Sam Kachuba, and today I'm very happy to be joined by, how do I begin to describe this man?
Massive, handsome.
He's tall, he's handsome. He's a husband and father. He's a nationally known Catholic speaker. He's a recording artist. He's a missionary, and he is one of the men most responsible for me sitting here today as a priest. I'm very happy to have Sean Forrest on the podcast today. Sean, it's great to have you. Thanks for doing this.
I got to tell you, buddy, the the fact that you're a priest is the only shot I've got in the world of getting into heaven.
I'll do what I can. I'll do what I can.
I'm telling you, man.
Let's be honest. It's Julie who's going to get you there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be holding her ankle while she's going up, and
it's going to be great.
The two shall become one, right? So
that's it. Exactly.
Like how this works out.
Man. This is great. So, Sean, I'm trying to think back now. I met you, I think, in 1996. Probably was about the time. Yeah.
You were in eighth grade, right?
I was an eighth grader at St. James in Stratford, and I don't think you were even Catholic yet.
No, I wasn't.
I think you were still like in process, and you had started doing youth ministry at the parish and everything. And
yeah, that tells you the state of the Catholic Church. Did we do anything? Yes, you hired. Just kidding. I remember seeing you come into the Jamesway room. Betsy Sorrentino had started, and it's like, I think you had a tie. I think.
Well, I was coming straight from school, so I was still in my uniform.
Yeah,
you know, still in the school uniform.
Little kid, man. Kid, so polite, so nice.
I just remember that being like the first time somebody who wasn't my parents wanted to talk to me about being Catholic, wanted to talk about the faith, and wanted to talk about Jesus. My parents, they took me to mass every Sunday, so that was normal for them to say things about God and to encourage it. And then it was normal at school because it was a Catholic school, but it was like somebody who wasn't connected to my school or to my family, who was just like, here, let me tell you why I love Jesus. I remember that really stuck out to me.
It's so key because I have kids now too, and I keep praying for people to come into their lives and speak into their lives,
Yeah.
It's like my kids listen, we have great conversations, but those outside witnesses are so powerful.
That's amazing. And so you're known, like you go out, you speak at conferences and you do this and everything, but do you ever have conversations with the other speakers like about, hey, could you talk to my kid about this?
Yeah, I've actually saved up money and hired speakers to come to our town to speak, so that my kids can hear them.
That's awesome.
Like literally, like I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, they're not around, they're going over there, so we're gonna hire them ourselves. So it's yeah, we all talk about that, wishing we could have our own little powwows or show up in the moment when you need them, right in the middle of a discussion. If only Leah Darrow was here right now.
She would definitely straighten my kids out.
And she would show up too. She's crazy.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right, so give me the nutshell version of how you got to where you are now. How you came into the faith, how you came to know Jesus.
All right, yeah. So real quickly, I was performing, singing out, making a lot of money, and after a while, it just started to feel really empty. I had a really tough childhood growing up, so I built myself up bodily, working out, getting real big that way. Built myself up on stage, so I was untouchable. Nobody could hurt me. So basically what I did is I took my early childhood wounds and just covered them over with bench presses and being on stage and singing, so nothing was healed. When you try to bury the zombies, they don't like staying dead. They start, you know what I mean? They start coming out.
They come up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I tried to numb myself, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And then after a while, it's like you start saying, is this it? Is this all that matters? Do we just hang out, party here and die and hope that there's some fluffy marshmallow God who's like, Barney, hey, welcome home. I'm like, I'm not interested. So I started asking some tough questions. Like, is there more to this life than just living and dying? What is the meaning of life? That's a scary question to ask. And who knows? And all those questions, you'd think it would have brought me to this great encounter right away with Jesus. Didn't it? Brought me to panic attacks, anxiety, and depression.
Mm.
Like I was completely crippled. Because I became awake from the slumber I'd been in, and I've used, substances and playing and performing to numb all those wounds of the past. And while I cleared my brain out to start searching for God, all of a sudden those cracks started opening up. The monsters came out again. And I find myself like, I can't even get on stage. I'm a wreck. And that's a period of my time where I was like, if there's a God, I hate him because I can't believe this is going on. And I'm actually going to come out with a book and a series on anxiety, how it's not the enemy, it's a great friend. I thank God for the panic attacks I was having and everything, because God had to just say, shh, listen to me. And that's what got me to listen. And that's what got me reading all these books about the evidence for God's existence. The evidence for the crucifixion, all those things. So I came back to my Protestant faith because I'm really a skeptic at heart. But then once my intellect was fed, I was like, okay, now I can connect it with my heart. I've been tricked as a kid. I don't want to get tricked as an adult. So I had to make sure that the faith, faith and reason together, did that connect? And then from there, I'm like, all right, I'll follow Jesus. Then it's like, now which church? Then I was like, okay, oh, wow, he founded a church. Which one was it? Okay, Catholic Church. And then, next thing I know, I'm a youth minister speaking out. And then next thing I know, God's got me speaking out nationally everywhere. And then after a while, I just, I started saying, it's been real fun talking about Jesus, but am I really doing the work of Jesus? It's like, it's good to evangelize, but I can't recall last time I held the hand of a poor person. I don't know the name of the poor people in my town, but yeah, I'm talking about helping the poor, serving the poor. And, and I always say, well, the spiritually poor, I'm there helping them, but it's pretty clear God wants us to feed people too. So I went on a mission trip 17 years ago to Jeremy in Haiti. And my life was radically changed in a moment. I had a very powerful moment. Maybe later we can talk about it. I know what our time limit is. I'm just trying to skip you through. And that's when I was like, Lord, if you'll let me, I'll build something pretty dynamic to help create future leaders of faith and care for your poor, your lost, lonely, your elderly, and just try to dedicate my life to it. And he allowed it. And we built something absolutely incredible. Thanks be to God. It's really all his. I'm truly, when people say they're a sinner and no, you're wonderful. It's like, no, I truly am. I'm always this far from going off the train track. So I thank God for the sacraments in the Catholic Church to restore me and bring me back. And I wanted to stop speaking so much. And I didn't want to be a hearer of the word. I wanted to be a doer of the word, and not so much telling other people what to do, but to start listening that God was telling me to do it too. And then here I am. Now I'm chatting with my buddy who was in my youth group, who's I now call Father Sam.
I always remember in that basement room at St. James, going down there and, I'm there as an 8th grader trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. Is this a cool thing for me to do? And like just having a crush on one of the girls who was going. So like, this is as good a reason as any for me to be here.
Absolutely. At 8th grade.
This will make it happen. Right. But then you would have stuff and there was this zeal and this enthusiasm for the faith. And I think that was because it was still early in your time coming into the Catholic Church. You were excited about everything that I had always had my entire life. I had always had the sacraments somewhere in my life, but you were excited because you appreciated them. I didn't. And that was the cool thing I think for me as an 8th grader, was meeting somebody who was actually excited about the Eucharist, who was excited about the idea that Jesus wants to feed us. And what you were doing was teaching me and teaching, I think, the whole group why this was so important, why the Eucharist mattered, and that we should be paying attention. And it was so exciting. And I had never had anybody do that before.
Well, praise God that you listened.
Yeah, I definitely paid attention. I also always remember the first time I heard your story and sitting with you. And I think there was like 1 or 2 other kids who showed up that day. Everybody else was like, yeah, I'm not going today. And they just blew it off. And so you just said, well, I'm going to tell you guys my story. And you start telling us the story, and you're telling us things that we can't even imagine. Being on stage, performing for more than 100 people.
Yeah.
We cannot fathom the idea of being on stage and performing music for so many people. We can't imagine meeting famous people and celebrities and going and doing all this stuff. We can't imagine earning more money than like $50 on a given
Right.
day. Like I mowed 7 lawns today and I got $50. That was the best we could even hope for.
That's funny.
And you're just describing this lifestyle that was, and I remember sitting there going, so why did he leave this again?
Yeah, maybe I need to oversell on the other side.
But you were telling all of it, and then you talked about that encounter with Jesus and just meeting the Lord, and it was the first time again that I remember hearing someone talk about the way that they met Jesus or they saw Jesus present, active in their life. And that started to give me a vocabulary to say, I want to look and see where Jesus might be present and active in my life. Where's this happening? Mm. But just to, I think, adopt that vocabulary is so powerful. And then, getting to work with you for a few years in youth ministry and see how that all was happening. And then the things that we were able to do with that group. You remember we do the holy hours?
Oh, yeah, Monday night.
Yeah, we do Monday night holy hour.
We had like 80 people in there.
Yeah,
it was insane.
It was a chapel the size of the room you're sitting in right now. It's a chapel that's not meant to seat more than 20 people at a time, and like 80 people would show up. It was amazing. It was just an incredible experience, and to know that every Monday I was going to have that time in front of Jesus, that time to be with the Lord, and also that time to be with friends, because it was never just about the prayer time. Remember, we'd like finish up and we'd go outside, and the people who came in after would always come out and tell us to quiet down because we were making so much noise outside. Like, you get a whole bunch of teenagers, bring them to Jesus, they're going to fall in love with Jesus, it's going to be great. Then they're going to want to hang out together, and then they're going to make noise and distract other people from falling in love with Jesus.
Yeah, that was always the double-edged sword with youth ministry. It's packed with kids. Keep those kids quiet.
It was great. It was so much fun.
I remember you. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. Say it.
I remember you. We did a 30-hour famine.
Yeah.
Remember to raise money for the poor, and for the poor and the unborn. I made it both because that's always been something heavy in my heart. And you were anointed by, especially about the unborn. Like God lit you up, and the Father asked you to give at the end of Mass to give a little testimony, and you got up and spoke fearlessly about abortion and pro-life, and I remember Father Tom, he was so like, wow, listen to this, you were so lit up, and nobody could say anything, like even people who didn't agree, that like people applauded. It was insane. I was like God's doing something in this person, because that was crazy what just happened there. That was amazing.
I think that's the beauty of being young and not knowing what a filter is yet, or not being worldly enough just yet to know when to maybe pull back a little bit, or to be worried about what other people
child
think.
shall lead them.
Yeah.
If you're a kid or holy like Mother Teresa, you get away with anything you want to say, because what are they going to say about you?
Right.
Mother Teresa. Oh yeah. Well, she. Yeah.
Here's my problem now. I'm not young anymore, and I'm not holy like Mother Teresa, so I got to really be careful with what I say.
But you have the beard of truth.
Yes. I'm glad you recognize that. I'm so grateful.
Shines like a shield.
It was bigger
Captain
before.
America.
It was so huge. It was like down below the microphone level. It was great.
Nice,
yeah.
Dude.
Oh, it was so much fun.
I still can't even grow a full beard. It's fine. I look like the Sean. Sparsely. Yeah, someday.
So here's another thing that I always remember with you, that has struck me, is that there was always something where you have a gift for seeing people, like you meet them, you know them, they know that you've seen them, that you've paid attention to them, that you cared for them, and I think that's one of the gifts that you have when you're out doing your ministry. When you evangelize, when you were on the speaker circuit and everything, people could come up to you and talk to you afterwards, and they got to hear you. But one of the things that always blew me away was shortly after you left St. James, being at different things, and I'd bump into you sometimes. So there was there was this one day at a church. You were given a talk, and I had gone there. I was supposed to do something as a seminarian for the parish, and so the pastor said, "Well, why don't you come over? Our confirmation class is having their retreat. They've got this great speaker there. He's giving the talk right now. Come on over, and I'll introduce you to him." And I didn't know it was you, so we walked in the door, and there you are, and you've got the kids on the edge of their seats. They're right on the edge of the seats, and you're like, "And guys, the meaning of life is." Sam? And you looked up and you saw me walk in the back door. And it was like, whatever was happening in that moment, like wherever the Holy Spirit was leading those kids, you just decided to point out that I was there and you wanted to talk to me, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah. I'm like, is he just going to be there for a second? I haven't seen him. I'm like, I'm not losing this opportunity to see you. And the meaning of life is Sam?
But that happened a few more times over the years at different things. I could see, "Hey Sam, how's it going?" And then I was ordained. "Hey Father Sam, how's it going?" But then at the couple years ago at the SEEK conference in Indianapolis, I'm processing into Mass. It was like the 3/4 mile long procession of priests.
Yeah.
All 700 of us are processing in for Mass, and we're in this just enormous conference space. So there's thousands and thousands of people there, and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I see your head above the crowd. You're tall, so you stand out a little bit. I see your head above the crowd, and I couldn't tell if you could see me or not. But then you're like giving me a fist bump in the air. You're waving to me during Mass. You were texting me, and it's coming up on my watch. I'm going, "Why is he texting me?" And you're like, "Let's catch up afterwards."
I'm like, "We gotta hang there. This is my only opportunity to get you."
But I thought it was so cool, the idea of like, all right, being seen. So someone sees me and knows me. There's a power in that. And I think if you're going to evangelize, to let people know that you see them, that you know them, you care for them, you want to talk to them, you want to spend that time with them. It's powerful.
Yeah. I guess, like we know all the books, we need the head smarts, but like, for example, when I was in Haiti, there was a group of people who came over from a different religion. And they came over to everybody to save them, give them their Bibles, and then they left. And so the Haitians weren't that interested. But when the Catholic missionaries came over, they stayed and didn't give them their Bibles right away. They ate with them and helped them cook and became friends with them and called them brothers, and then they wanted to know the joy inside them. And then they invited them to see Jesus, because they were already seeing Jesus through that friendship of like, "I'm not here to convert you. I'm here to love you." Conversion's naturally going to take place from love, if it's honest and true, if it's a Christ-filled love. So I think that without that, I think it just becomes an intellectual faith, or I think we're leaving the Holy Spirit out of the whole conversion process. If it's just about like, "Hey, I saved 3,000 people today. What, do you know any of their names?" No. I'm like, "Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know the name of the homeless guy in your street corner?" "Well, no." I'm like, "All right. Don't forget to love your neighbor too."
Right. Yeah. That's great. All right. So you go from the pre-conversion Sean, partying, playing music.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've been holy my whole life.
To having this experience with Jesus that brings you around to the faith. And then with your music, you start to dedicate your music now not to just playing the covers of Top 40, although you still do that really well. It's fun.
Bless. I love those songs.
Yeah. But then you shift to using your music now for God. So that gift that you have, how many albums did you record since that conversion experience that have just been like music for the Lord?
I don't know. I would say maybe 7. Okay. It's weird. It's weird. We Catholics are funny. We like to compartmentalize our people. So I started as the music guy, then I was the youth minister guy, then I was the national speaker guy. Now I'm the Haiti guy. And then, and they don't want the Haiti guy and the music guy to mix. You got, they want to keep you on your, so yeah, I put those albums out, and I was like, hey, I don't know, after a while singing about, I used to love the Beach Boys. Now it's like after a while I listen to the third song and it's like if I hear about one more bikini in a fast car, I'm just gonna, you know, go nuts. I need something a little deeper. So that's what I decided to do with my music. Hey, and I'm not, the Beach Boys are great. Brian Wilson's one of the greatest ever, but for me, with their beginning songs, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something deeper.
Yeah.
And the funny thing now is I have to be careful what I'm saying. 99% of the stuff I say is wrong, so just fact check everything. but now I'm writing music again, and it's not so Jesus heavy, and it's for a reason. Just from the years of speaking at conferences and everywhere and seeing everybody cross clapping, and it's like that's all beautiful and it's wonderful, but I'm like they're already there. And I've just kind of I've always been on the fringe. I don't belong to any, record labels. I don't belong to any youth ministry conventions. I'm just like, find me some people who are struggling. That's where I want to be. That's why I always love doing confirmation retreats, way more than huge conferences. Like huge conferences, they paid $300 to go to it. Confirmation kid's dragging his feet. He's bummed. It's a Saturday afternoon. He's in a church hall. And I'm like, this is fun. This is going to be good. So the music I'm writing is more for like a guy who's like, it's got faith in here, but he's not hitting me over the head with it. And then he might want to listen to another song, then find my older stuff, so breadcrumb music, kind of.
Breadcrumbs. That's true. Like you got to take the deep dive. You start with the current stuff that the artist has, and then you start going back in their discography. Let's see what else they wrote.
Yeah.
Let's see what else they've got.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, I like that approach.
Well, I'm not sure if it's ever going to work. God will let me know. He's like, no, you idiot, stay. But we'll see. Just do what I can.
But I like how you talked about that. The idea that we tend to compartmentalize people. So for a while you were the music guy, the youth minister guy, then the speaker guy. But all along there's something happening. Obviously you don't just decide, all right, I'm going to do this, and then you go out and do it. There's always that personal component of you being led by the Holy Spirit. And I think that can be the challenge in ministry, is that we can get caught up in doing the thing that we have to do. So I'm a pastor, so it's easy to get caught up in doing the pastor stuff that I have to do. And I've got to make sure that I'm keeping the prayer going too, that I'm still going before the Lord and asking for guidance, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so as all that's happening, there are going to be times when the focus of the mission changes. The mission's always the same. We got to get people to heaven, but that focus might change at different times. So you go from music to youth ministry to conferences, and then how did you end up in Haiti?
Well, it's a weird thing. God just gave me this gift that I've always had a softness for the marginalized or the bullied or those who don't have a voice for themselves. That's why I'm a big pro-lifer for the unborn. They don't have a voice. So I just that and I remember when I was little, there were these commercials where this guy would come out with this beard and he'd say, for just 3 cents a day, you can give this girl. Do you remember that dude?
Yeah. And
I remember looking at the eyes of this little girl and I'm like, I wish I could help her. I just don't know how. It's impossible. I'm like going, okay, how do I know that money's going anywhere? And it's like, I don't want to just give money, because I was always the
guy with the beard is just shouting to you, 3 cents a day. That's how. I just wish I knew how. 3 cents a day.
I'm like, you should take over my finances. If you can put somebody through college and feed them 3 square meals a day with 3 cents, I want you doing my books here, man, because that's pretty impressive. So anyhow, I just, it's weird. When it gets foggy, the whole memory of it, that's when I know it's the Holy Spirit. It's just like, I look back and go, I'm not so sure. Just God like bringing me along. But I was like, I want to be with the poor. I don't want to just talk about the poor. I want to be with the poor. I want to know the poor. That's what Jesus did. He touched people. He was physical. He cried with them. He it wasn't just he didn't just give a sermon on the mount and then have everybody keep him away like a rock star. And I remember seeing that when I do these conferences, get off stage, no, you can't talk to him yet. And I was like going, this just all feels weird to me. This isn't who I am. So 17 years ago, I went to my pastor and I'm like, I'm really feeling called to work with the poor, the really poor. And he's like, I'm leaving in 3 weeks for the country of Haiti if you want to go with me. I'm like, you're kidding me. And I'm like, I didn't even know where it was. And he goes, yeah, man, it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Come check it out. So I went with him there, and just had the. Can I share this crazy moment with you?
Yeah.
So probably one of the most profound moments in my life. I went there clueless as to what being a missionary is. I brought my guitar and I'm like, I'm going to end poverty by singing songs for people. It's like, here I come, Sean Forrest to save the world. And I really wanted to go to an orphanage because, I love little kids. And so he brought me to an orphanage. There was about the director of the place we were going to visit. And there are about 300 kids in a room with about like 5 caretakers. And real little kids just laying there. A lot of them just staring at the walls, but no kids playing. And there weren't enough caretakers to care for all the kids that were running around, all the kids who were laying there. They just had time to feed them and change their diapers. And so they grow up with what I call dead eyes. Like, how children in a hospital, little babies, if you can give them all the medicine, but that's why they have the gloves so you can touch them, because if you don't, they start to die. Same with the elderly. We need physical touch and voices and stuff. So I'm playing my guitar, nothing. The kids, nothing, just looking through me, just these eyes, no emotion, emotionless. And, try to goof with them. I'm like, oh, man. And so I was like, I can't believe this. I thought this was going to be a powerful moment. All of a sudden, this little boy gets up and he walks across the floor and he just stands in front of me and he puts his hands on his hips and cocks his head and he's looking at me. And I was like, hey, buddy. I go to pick him up. And the director over there grabs my arm and he says, don't touch him. Don't pick him up. And I'm like, why? He goes, he's covered with scabies, which is a mite that crawls under your skin. Yeah, and it's really hard to get rid of. And then he turned his back over and he had these open lesions on his back. A lot of them had sores from just laying on their back. And he goes, if you pick them up, you're going to get sick. That's why we can't pick them up, because if we get sick, we can't even feed them. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh. So I was like, wow, I don't want scabies. I've seen that before. And so I pet him on the head real quick and I was like, hey, buddy. And I started to walk away and just felt this fear. And I got like 2 steps and just I don't say it was an audible voice, but it was like a real punch in my heart where God said, so I'll die on a cross for you and wear your sins, but you won't pick me up because you're afraid of a rash. It was like God, and that little boy's looking at me going, I thought you wanted to help the poor. This is what we look like. And it was like God was saying to me, do you want to be a pretend missionary that once a year goes down to Haiti and puts on these big slideshows and everybody thinks you're really holy and wonderful, but you don't know the people? Or do you want to know these people? Do you really want to be with the poor? So I picked that little boy up and I hugged him and he put his arms around me and I started spinning him a little bit and he started giggling and all the other kids just woke up because they heard him laughing and they're like, oh, this guy will hold us. And they all ran at me at the same time. And I was like, I'm going to die. And they're all hugging me. I'm covered in snot and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And I never got scabies, nothing. But even if I had, I live in America. There's a pill for that. You know what I mean? But it was my baptism into mission work of God saying, it's ugly sometimes. It's so beautiful, but it's ugly. It's dirty. You're going to be afraid. And I was nowhere at the level of spirituality to do any of this, so God carried me and I'm not there still. I mean, people ask me like, how's this helped you grow in faith? And I'm like, I'm going to have to let God show that to me when I see him, because honestly, it's shown just how weak I am and my fears and how much I've yet to give to God and to trust in him. And because of that, there's been many a person who's been deflated when they're excited to see Sean Forrest, who created Haiti 180, that cares for 2,000 people on the hill, and they come up the rooftop and I get a cigar and a rum and Coke and I'm like, what's up? They're like, oh, they think I'm going to be kneeling on glass or, walking around praying. And I'm like, no, man, I wish I was that dude. I'm just this real sinner guy that's completely relying on God to do this. Cause if you knew me completely, you'd be horrified. You'd be like, this dude did this. You know the saying we all say, if the Lord can't find a colt, he'll use an ass. And I just happen to step up, man. Like, I'll be the ass.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's 17 years ago.
17 years ago.
That you went for the first time. how did you keep going back?
Well, I kept helping this other organization doing concerts for them and everything, and then God just kept saying orphanage, orphanage, raise up leaders, and I tried to express that to them, but they were just kind of full. They had so much on their plate, so I was like, I guess I've got to do it myself. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I meet this girl who used to come to my summer camps, and she tells me about this guy, Louis Morozny from Franciscan University, who's from Haiti. I call him up. I'm like, oh, I'm going to call him. And he comes over to my house. And he goes, do you want to go to the village where I grew up? I'm like, yeah. So a couple weeks later, I'm off to this village. I don't know this guy, nothing. And I was going, all right, Lord, I trust in you. And
That's awesome.
we just prayed the whole week there going, is this what you want us to do? Really, hours and hours, Lord, please reveal. And then, man, it was just so clear we are supposed to do it. So I just started doing concerts and raising money to buy land. And, we went from an orphanage, we now have 37 kids, and we don't want to, our goal is to go deep, not wide. Creating our kids will speak 3 languages. They know the catechism in and out. They're going to be ferocious warriors of God's love. For the kingdom. We have this beautiful chapel with the Blessed Sacrament. We've got a school with 400 kids. We're ranked one of the best schools in all of Haiti. We have elderly homes for the dying out in the mountains to take care of them, and our kids in the orphanage come over and help take care of them, and a medical clinic that cares for 2,000 people up on the hill. And we've brought over 2,000 missionaries from America, and it's changed their lives. And honestly, my job description is this. I'm a very regular, sometimes brutally sinful guy who creates space for people that enter into that space so the Holy Spirit can be magnificent through them. That's all I do. That's all I do, man. Just create space and just invite people in like God did with all of us in this thing. But it's truly, it bummed me out. Somebody said, look, do you ever sit back and look what you've done? And I go, everything I've ever done, it really deserves condemnation forever in hell. This is all God's.
Yeah.
It's truly his, man. It's like I look and I just look at the people he's brought into my life to make this thing happen. I'm like, I build a medical clinic. I don't know any doctors. Next week later, I'm speaking at a conference, and this doctor comes up and says, I want to be involved. Now he's on my board of director. It's all him.
That's amazing.
And the fact that after all he's shown me, I still doubt, sin, and it's like, wow. But as my spiritual director used to say, hey, you are human.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still human. Mm-hmm. So Haiti 180 begins with an orphanage.
Yeah.
And then from there, what was your next move after the orphanage was established? Then it was to build the school,
build our beautiful chapel. We needed the Blessed Sacrament there, and the bishop said, "Do it." So our chapel's just so gorgeous. Before we got there, the people would go to mass maybe once every 2 years.
Okay.
There were no priests. But we need more priests. If I knew a priest who could come over to Haiti with me from America, I'm trying to think of one.
All right, I promise I'll come visit.
Awesome.
I'll come check it out.
Priests are rock stars in Haiti, man. It's so cool. Like, down here, your celebrity walks, everybody gathers around. Here, a priest walks, and everybody's like, ooh, pay a priest. It's really cool. So from there, and then a school. So we put up this beautiful school. It's got a computer lab and everything in it. And we never build any. We're building everything as if it was directly for Jesus. So if Jesus is going to school there, what kind of school are we going to build for him? And then our elderly homes. The elderly are so they're so poor out there. People don't eat every day. So the elderly, they see I've got 3 grandchildren. I'm not going to take their food, so they go off to a hut and die. And they'll be actually their graves built right in front of that hut. So they just wake up and the thing they see is that grave, and because they're not going to take the food from the kids. So we go and do rescues, and it's funny, God writes great stories. Our homes for the elderly were supposed to be a home for the dying, hospice care. So we'd pick them up off these mats. They're so frail, and we put them in beds and, try to give them a little food and water. And then the kids from the orphanage were like, who are these people? So they'd come over and start playing, like do their fingernails. And the elderly are like, hey, this is kind of nice. I think I'll stick around. They didn't die, so we had to make it a nursing home. It's just such a funny story. Yeah, it's a beautiful, grandparent program just started.
That's awesome.
And now they speak to the kids and share their faith. And when missionaries come over, one of my favorite things to do is have the missionaries sit on the floor and just listen to ask questions of these elderly people and listen to the wisdom they have. They can't read, they can't write, but my gosh, the years of sitting and just praying, most of these people we found just in the dirt, just homeless, but they kept praying.
Yeah.
And the knowledge they have, like people leave in tears going, what? Where's this come from? And I'm like, if you sit long enough and don't lose your faith, man, God's going to be really loud and clear.
Wow.
And now they share that. It's gorgeous. It's an amazing story. It really is.
That's awesome. So, I mean, usually if I think of an orphanage, I start thinking of some Disney animated film where there's, an orphan who didn't get adopted that day, and they're kind of slowly trudging back into the orphanage, but then the mice come out and rescue them and take them someplace fun. Like, usually that's kind of what I'm thinking of with an orphanage. But I remember when you were first describing what you were doing down there to me, this is going to be a place where we're training future leaders, where these orphans aren't just going to be left. They're not just going to sit
Right.
here and wait for somebody to come and get them. We're going to educate them. We're going to teach them languages. We're going to teach them the catechism, give them the faith. And then you have the school that you started, and the kids from the orphanage are in the school, right there with the other
Right.
kids.
Yep.
And honestly, I just never thought of anything like that. I had never thought of it going in that direction. In the orphanage, is there a move at all to try to get the kids adopted and into families, or is it more we're going to take care of them for as long as we need to?
It's interesting. No, we don't adopt out for a couple reasons. We want the kids to be magnificent in Haiti, but also this. Father Louis Morosny, who's the co-founder of the mission, he phrased it beautifully one day. He goes, "You know what this is? This is a home for former orphans. These kids have grown up in such a family. Our caretakers are incredible. And it's really a brother. When people come down, they go, this feels like somebody's house with a big family." I'm like, exactly. Like, for example, one of our children died just a little while ago, little Julie, the sweet little girl. She had some medical issues and we had to get her to Port-au-Prince. And, I flew in there to be with her. And talk about a medical nightmare. She needs a transfusion. You got to go find your own blood.
Wow.
Yeah. Welcome to Haiti. So while she was dying and we were getting ready to unplug the machines, I'm holding her hand. Our sister Florence is there, and a couple of our caretakers, and we're just weeping. And the doctor's going, "This can't be a child from an orphanage." She goes, I've never seen somebody cry over a child from an orphanage like this."
Wow.
And Bennett Social Services, who comes out to our place, says, "The love here," she goes, "this is so different." And that brings tears to my eyes, because I know, we've been faithful to what God called it to be here. It's real easy for somebody to go to Haiti and get 500 kids, and they look how many kids we have. But it's sort of like that thing we're talking about. I'm like, do you know their names?
Right.
Do you know what they're afraid of? Do you know what they have nightmares about? Do you know their favorite color? Do you know what they want to be? And if not, then, it's like you got to bring in a lot more people so they can have some form of mother and father figure in their lives that's stable to be with them. And that's what God did with this.
Wow.
It's like,
I
I
love
know
that.
I know every child. I know them in the elderly home and our teachers. Like, I know everyone. And if you and I were talking right now and one of them walked in, I'd stop right now and go, "Yuri."
See, that goes back to what we were talking about before. You have that gift for making people know that they're known, that they're seen.
I just think
That's
God
amazing.
God willed that you be alive. How incredible is that? How amazing are you that God would will that you be alive? And I'm like, I want to know this person.
Yeah.
God made you. That's amazing.
So I love it. So the number is limited, but do you see the need sort of constantly present in Haiti? The need for the orphanage, the need for the school?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that school, 400 kids who most of them didn't have a school, or they were in a little shack and they had a teacher that had a second grade education, as compared to now They're learning French, English, mathematics, history, and of course religion. And then we do special tutoring programs for the kids, and where our kids are ranked. The kids in our orphanage are ranked basically the highest in the school.
Wow.
Yeah, and just for some, just hope. Just hope, and like maybe these kids after, people are like, well, what after school? And I'm like going, well, are you saying that we shouldn't have done this because there might not be a lot of work for them? I go, everybody deserves to be educated. I'm not sure what's going to happen because Haiti's a big problem. God loves them more than I do, and I wasn't called to solve the problem of Haiti, just to help people in my area. But the fact that they've got to learn to read, so when they open up a Bible, they can share the Word of God with somebody. I go, that's worth all of it if just one of them does it. Just the dignity, the self-worth. These people are wonderfully prideful people, and pride, and I mean in a good way. They might have one decent outfit that was given to them, and they fold it up after school and they iron it with a charcoal iron and take care of it. Like, this is all I've got, but I'm going to look sharp when I go out there. So it's like everybody deserves to be educated and loved on. And, we have children with special needs in our orphanage. And it's even helped to shape the culture as far as, because, they're like, well, why are they like that? Did they do something wrong? It's sort of like the Old Testament, like your father sinned. Therefore, now they're caring for the kids and playing with the kids with special needs. And it's just, I just, the fruits that this thing has done that I'm not even aware of, I can't wait for God to show me, because, my mind's small. God writes great stories. And the one I'm telling still, and I have to believe in the eyes of God, is tiny. He's like, you still don't have a clue, buddy, as to what I was capable of doing through all of you.
That's amazing. How does the whole mission exist? Like, how is it funded? How do you make this happen? How do you provide for the needs of all these people that you're serving now?
That's the thing where that's what's, you see this gray hair and these wrinkles, that's what's aged me the most.
It wasn't the kids.
Well, they started it.
I was to say, I think your kids would have something to do with it.
Well, yeah,
they would want to take at least a little bit of credit.
Yeah, yeah, Hannah.
So I knew you were going to blame her. I've not even met her, and I knew you were going to blame her.
Trouble. No, man, she's a great girl. So it's scary, right? All these people counting on it, and we don't have this huge endowment that's come to us. Some people get 30 million, 40 million dropped on them, so that percentage covers their operation costs. We're always living by faith. I've got about 6-7 months of operation costs left right now, and you just keep praying. All right, Lord. So we're truly living on the edge. We're truly a nonprofit because every penny goes to the good thing of feed. We feed those 400 kids every day in the school a chicken meal, like not just rice, but there's a lot going on. So we do the concerts. When I go out and speak, I invite people. And then also we have this program, Team 180. Ask people to give $15 a month. It's basically a coffee a week. And you get a picture of one of the kids, their bio, and I give these monthly updates to them, video updates. And that's really how we keep it all going from those Team 180 members, $15 a month or more. I don't want to ask for, if I can get a bunch of you to give 1,000, I'm like, people just can't do that. But I'm like, $15, it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then they actually can see, because my main thing, I want people to see, hey, we said we're going to build this with your money. Look, it's built. So they trust us.
Right.
It's not like we're going to build this. Hey, 3 years later, whatever happened to Sean? So concerts, speaking, and other people who fall in love with it, asking their friends to join and stuff. That's really what keeps it going. Don't get me wrong. I'd love the $30 million drop so that I could sleep and my chest isn't tight at night, because I trust God, but I ask him, I constantly pray, help my lack of trust.
Sure. Absolutely. And then you talked about having missionaries come down to see the place and to work there. What's that like? What's it been like having people come and what happens to them?
I could write a book just on that. It's we've had almost 2,000 missionaries come to our place, and people keep coming back over and over again. So a typical mission trip's going to be, we always have a work project. Like we just had a group from Tennessee, Gallatin, Tennessee, come down from my kid's school, Pope John Paul II school. And our project was to dig the foundation for a cemetery out there. The way we do it, like we actually do like ossuaries and stuff. And, you know, when you put the bodies in there and then you take the bones out and stuff like that. So, you know, we have so many in our elderly, you know, people die out there. So we needed more room. And so I was like, hey, it sounds a little morbid, but we're going to dig a cemetery. We need more room. It's so funny. So we get out there with the pitch, with the shovels. And my son, first song he puts in is Thriller by Michael Jackson. I'm like, really? What a sick sense of humor. So we're in a cemetery listening to Thriller. So you've got a work project, right? And then in the afternoons, we do visits, home visits. We go out and bring food. Like you, myself, and a couple other people, we'd go up, find some people who haven't eaten maybe in a day or two. We'll bring spaghetti and we'll make a dinner for them up there and just pray and just spend 2-3 hours sitting with them and just hold their hands, sing some songs. And then, so to me, it's all about connecting the personal. Everybody wants to build a building when they come over and go, look what I did. I'm like, you will have such a better memory of the face of the person that you met over that little campfire who was starving and you fed them. Maybe you, washed their hands or washed their feet. I'm going to go, that you'll remember that so much more than building. Building's good, but it's about setting up those personal things. So morning work, afternoon, meeting the poorest of the poor on a very personal level, and then even maybe doing projects with them. And then we have morning prayer, evening prayer, and then we have a priest, we have mass, which is great. And then in the evening to sit and talk about the day and reflect on it all. So it's almost like a retreat experience through it all too. So going on, I love building with everybody because it's neat. It's a building bonding thing. But most of the stories that, you know, when I see a father and son feeding somebody who hasn't eaten in a while, and that bond that happens between the father and the son, it's incredible. You know, we've brought over seminarians before, and it creates a space for us to be able to be back to the book of Acts, the early church, where people have heard of this Jesus guy, some of these, but, you know, we don't have church. Tell me about him. Then you've got to get uncomfortable. Because if you don't like public speaking or sharing, I mean, this is going to be tough for you. But once you meet them and see their desire to hear what you have to say, God just melts that fear away. And people who never could speak before are sharing, and, you know, and this happened to me, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Wow.
Create space.
How do you get past the language barrier?
Well, we can interpret it. I speak the language, and we have other people who speak both languages. Both languages. And honestly, we're like, people go, it's weird. I didn't need to speak it. You just sit, laugh, sing songs, point to things, and just sit. It's weird in America. We have to be doing something with people. Let's go bowling. Let's go for a coffee. We can't just sit with somebody and hold their hand. That's uncomfortable. But in Haiti, just sit here, look at the sunrise. Just the companionship. You know, it's in. That's
a perfect description, right? Like, I can't just sit there and hold hands with you. Like, I remember, so this is when I was in seminary, and I was in Rome, and it was like a rainy night, and I'm walking. I was going to meet a group of other seminarians, and I'm walking down the street, and it's raining. I got an umbrella, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, hey!" And I turn, and there's this guy standing in a doorway, and he said, "Where are you going?" He says to me in Italian, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going down the street here." "I'm going to walk with you." And he jumps under my umbrella and like links his arm in mine and just starts walking. So now I am arm in arm with this strange man who's just jumped out of a doorway and he's doing it for my umbrella. And he starts talking to me. He's introducing himself, and we're just like walking along, and he's telling me about his life, and he forgot his umbrella, and now he's got to get to this place. And he said, "Look, I'm not going to take you any more of your time. I know you've got to go. I'm going to duck in here because there's some shelter and everything." So he just like leaves. That was the most uncomfortable 1 block walk I've ever taken. This strange man holding my arm.
I would give anything to see the video footage of that.
Like, I don't know who you are or why you're doing this, but here we go. Yeah, because we Americans, hey, I'm not going to just sit there and hold your hand. That's a weird experience. But coming back to the holy and the sublime and the beauty of all of this, it's like, yeah, there's that need, that human connection that says, I can just sit with you and see you as a person and recognize that you're here. And I don't need to speak anything. I don't need to say any words. I can just be with you.
Can I share one last story with you?
Yeah, of course.
Do I have that time or no?
You definitely have that time.
All right, cool. Just talking about connection, right? I had a group come over, teenage high schoolers, about 20 of them from out west. And we always sit on the roof of the orphanage. The stars are there, and we process. And the first night, I just love to hear where people are at. So I go, do you believe in God? It was amazing. A lot of them were from a Catholic school, and about 50% said they didn't. They said there's too much suffering in the world. I just don't think that God's there. And I was like, okay. And I don't use that as a teaching moment. I just want to find out where you are. So the next day I go, hey, I want you to meet somebody. There's somebody really sick up in the mountains. And they're like, all right, we'll go. So we go up for a hike. It's a while. And we come up to this hut and there's this dad, old farmer, trying to, a 20 by 20 little area, trying to farm it. And I walk up and I'm like, ¿Cómo es? How are you? And he's like, oh, muy contento, I'm happy. And I'm like, can we pray with your daughter? We hear she's sick. And he's like, thank you, Jesus. You heard my prayers. And so we walk in, and there's this about a 10-year-old girl laying on the dirt floor of this little hut. And we all walk in and circle around her, and the kids are just like very sterile, just like staring at her. And I don't say anything purposely. And I'm like waiting for the awkwardness to set in. And they're like, are we supposed to do something? And I'm like, would you like to do something? They're like, I feel like we're here. We should do something. I'm like, what would you like to do? I love to just answer with questions. And they're like, I don't know, should we pray? I'm like, would you like to pray? And they're like, we could pray. I'm like, well, if you feel like you want to pray, pray. So they go through Our Father, go through Hail Mary, they go through the grace, they run out, and they're like, are we done? I'm like, do you feel like you're done? And they're like, we could pray more. I'm like, you could pray more. And it gets really uncomfortable. But I love the uncomfortable because that's where the Holy Spirit's going to work. And this one girl kneels down and touches this girl's shoulder. And she says, Dad, please don't let this girl die. She goes, please ask God, just don't let her die. And all of a sudden her friend starts crying, and she kneels down next to the girl, and they put their hands on her. And I didn't know it, but the girl who knelt down, her father died when she was young, and she hated God and she hated her father for abandonment. And in a little hut, she kneels down and asks for the intercession of her dad and for God to heal this girl. And when all the other guys saw these two kneel down, they all knelt down around this little girl who had pulled the sheet over her head because she was horrified seeing a bunch of Americans just surround her. She's like, what's going on? When they knelt down, she pulled it down. And these guys, I think for the first times in their life, really prayed just from the heart. And then the father came in and saw them praying. And he started praying over them, saying, God, bless them and their families, that you would send them to me. You remind me I'm never alone. You sent the missionaries to me. Tears everywhere. We go up on the roof of the orphanage that night. There were no atheists because of suffering.
That's amazing.
Because they finally got to not just be hearers of the word, but doers of the word. I mean, in our country, it breaks my heart when I hear, kids getting confirmed or we have to do our work now, have to do, what's it called? Our
service hours.
Service hours. So we set up a bunch of tables in the hall, and I'm like, that's what you did? It's like, imagine being on a football team where all you do is practice, but you never get in the game. You'd hate it. And I feel that's what we've done with Catholics. We haven't set up space for the kids to be in the game. It's always about potentially serving God. So we're spiritual gluttons. Let me give you more books. Let me give you this. And it's like, give them an opportunity to speak on behalf of Christ. And that's when it gets real.
Yeah. It's funny you use that image of we have them practice, but we never let them get in the game. Because I always use the opposite analogy when I talk about it, that everybody wants to be in the game, but nobody wants to practice. Nobody wants to do any of this. And I don't mean service hours. I think service hours are an abomination. And and any of us who have had to enforce service hours are going to spend an extra couple years in purgatory for it. I'm convinced we will answer to Jesus for service hours for confirmation classes. Yeah. But there's so often we just want the end result. We don't want to have to do any of the real work and that real stuff. And part of the beauty of what you just described is they got to go in and so, this is the work. This is where the practice really has to happen.
Yeah.
And then that makes the game, that makes everything. Because if you haven't had that chance to pray and pray from the heart, and to learn what it means to pray from the heart, then in those other situations in your life, this is with a stranger. There's no previous bond to them. The bond's created when they go in and pray for them. But what happens when it's your own family member or yourself? If you don't have that practice and that foundation of I can pray, and I can pray from the heart, and I can pray with my friends from the heart, it changes everything.
Well, I wonder, I wouldn't know this. I just wonder, in middle class America or up, when they do pray, if they find the time to pray, how much of the prayers are about success, grades, finances, as compared to the poor, the lost, the lonely, the suffering, those who've been judged horribly wrong, those imprisoned, conversion of sinners? It's just kind of changes things a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's easy to see this is the need that I see for myself right in front of me. So that's what I'm going to pray for.
Right.
This is the thing that's on my plate at the moment. Yeah. So because it's the thing that's right in front of me, that's where I'm going to direct my attention with the Lord. But yeah, it's those unseen things. But that's why those experiences of going on mission are so important, because they remind you that these things are happening all the time.
But you make a great point. You don't need to go to Haiti to be a missionary. I often sometimes ask young people who want to come to Haiti to help the poor, I say, do you have grandparents? Yes. Do you ever visit them? No. And I'm like, then why would you go to Haiti? You have grandparents that might be lonely in a nursing home and you don't go see them. There's your mission field.
Right.
But sometimes it's easier to start with a stranger and learn the gifts that you have. But God will all sort it out, man.
He will. And a lot of times those missions where they go away, that inspires them when they get back to see the stuff that's right in front of them.
Yeah.
Like we have blind spots at home.
Yeah.
Things that we're used to seeing it this way, so we don't really notice. But like we're taking our high school kids here on a mission trip, a service trip, and actually we're coming to Nashville.
Oh, get out. When?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. You gonna be around?
Dude, if you mean like 2 weeks, I'm gonna be in Haiti. You're killing me. When we get done, give me the dates when you.
We'll talk about it later. But the beauty of these trips is that you take the kids away from home for a little while, and they haven't left the country. But they're just in a different enough place. It's just far enough away that their experience is different, that their guard is down. It's not their normal environment. Because it's not their normal environment, they're seeing things differently. When they see things differently, they dive into service, and they're able to have this experience, and then they come home. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen kids come home and start volunteering for more things around here. They get more involved. They have a heart for service all of a sudden, because something was unlocked when they went away. And so it doesn't have to be exotic, like leaving the country, but it can be. And that can be that thing that unlocks. The key is always, can you bring this home with you? Can you make this something that you're doing at home?
It's sort of like you brought them out and put the paddles to their chest. Poof.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. It's good. Exactly. A little shock, a little awakening.
The eyes open up and they're seeing things more clearly. That's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
All right. So where can people find out more about Haiti 180?
Right on our website, Haiti, Haiti, Haiti 180, Haiti180.com. And all our information, what we do, how to come on a mission trips right there, and how to become a Team 180 member. I always tell people, man, just give me a beer. Give me a beer a week for the poor. That's all I'm asking. It's $3.50 a week. We got this.
I like that we escalate from coffee to beer.
Yeah, I tell other
coffee
people
a week to a beer,
but most of my friends, I know they're going to get the beer thing more. So
I love it. Oh man.
Yeah. So, but thank you, man. Thanks for
Sean. It's just good to see you. It's good to talk to you. This is so cool.
And wherever I am and what I'm doing, if you walk in, I'm going to go, Father Sam.
I love it. Maybe next time I'll try to interrupt and I'll catch you first. With Sean Forrest.
Just not during the consecration, Father.
This is my Sean Forrest. No, I can't do that. That's really bad. Sean, thank you. I love that I can have you on this podcast and introduce you to some people. If you're listening, this is Sean Forrest, and he is one of the most important reasons that I am a priest today, because he introduced me to Jesus in the Eucharist and told me that it was okay to follow. It was okay to be a disciple. So Sean, thank you. And I love what you're doing with Haiti 180. I promise I will get down there and hang out in Haiti with you one of these days.
Who you are and the personality of who you are and the spirit you have, the place would go nuts. It would be amazing.
That'd be great. All right. Thanks, Sean. Great having you. This is Roar Like the Lamb. I'm Father Sam Kachuba.